So g'day guys, it's Daniel Stoneman here, Director of Explore Careers. I am thrilled to welcome today to the executive series of Explore Careers, Sandra Martinez, who is the CEO of Nestle. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sandra.
My pleasure. Thank you, Daniel, for inviting me.
Of course. Now, Nestle, what a fantastic business, an iconic brand globally. When students are probably hearing Nestle now, their ears are pricking and they're probably thinking, I know that brand, I know their products, but maybe from a employer brand job perspective, their understanding may not be as strong as it is from the consumer side in terms of what can I actually do at Nestle?
Yeah. Well, you can do whatever you want at Nestle, to be honest. I think when we think of Nestle is quite diversified company, and we are getting even more diversified lately. So of course we are a food company, and within food we participate in several categories like coffee. So when you think about coffee and Nescafé, that's one of our beloved brands. We participate in confectionery. Probably KitKat is one brand that the kids will resonate with. Allen's. We do also pet food, pet care, right? Purina is our brand there. We are in waters, we are in infant nutrition. And now, since probably quite a few years, we are in what we call health science. So students that are interested in science and in research and all these kind of things will have a career with us as well.
Yeah, wow. And I think, when you hear the KitKat brand and you hear some of those other brands, it's absolutely fantastic. But sometimes you don't think, you just see the brand, you see it on the shelf, but it's the backstory in terms of product development, the science behind the chocolates and the actual, product itself, where a lot of students don't put two and two together. And I guess from your perspective, obviously, you're at school, you left school. Did you go straight to university, or what was your career from leaving school to going to university? What did that look like?
I had a very important break between high school and university, which I think was critical for my own development. And I did that pushed by my father, who, when I was young, he thought that I was not strong enough to face life, that I was being raised in this cocoon kind of, environment. And he rightly so, he believed that exposing me to different experiences where I could be challenged, I could probably discover, right, what I'm capable of. And he sent me to Iceland for 1 year to repeat my last high school year there, to Reykjavik. And, a girl that didn't speak English at that time, from Ecuador, which is warm and small, to Iceland, which is, I really didn't even know that there were people living in that part of the planet. Was a really interesting experience. It was very challenging, very difficult. I think the most difficult part for me was getting used to the lack of light at winter time. I arrived there in September. So it was really an experience that I even talk to these days, and I said it really defined me in the sense of showing me what I was capable of. So when I finished that year and I went back to Ecuador, I said to myself, if I went through this and I'm still alive and happy, I can do anything that I want. And I think it shows that sometimes we just need to kind of face our deepest fears and discover what we are capable of, because we are capable of many things that we don't know.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of students at school have that pressure of thinking they have to leave school and go straight to university. There's a lot of pressure. They're looking at that, geez, we've got to get into university, I've got to finish, I've got to get into a career. But I think that gap between a lot of CEOs that we speak to have also had, I guess in Australia, seen as that gap year, that chance to either just go and explore, get to explore themselves, and then getting into it and having that bit of a break and recalibrating and working out, first of all, what they want to do, how they want to do it. Sometimes when they leave school, they think they know what they want to do. And then that year off, when they do get to discover themselves and recalibrate, all of a sudden they actually start pointing in potentially a different direction. So from there, obviously, in Greenland, coming back, and then obviously going through to university.
Yeah, and I even then, I was not exactly right about what I wanted to do, and I first went down the path of computer sciences. At that time, we were punching cards to code or to program. Mm-hmm. And then I landed my first, after I finished that career, I landed my first job, which was for an industry association, where basically my job was to, put all these opportunities about where to export into a big database. So my desk was in a basement with these big frames. And quickly I realized that that was not something that I really enjoyed, to be on my own. It was only me and these big computers around me. And I think, I said to myself, maybe I made the wrong choice. But at that point, I had already made that choice, right? So I had to do the best of what that choice has given me. And one thing that I said is, at least, I am managing of all this information to put it into this system to make it of help for this association. So I started to kind of, and information is power. So I started to kind of put that knowledge on the table with my superiors, with my land manager, his land manager. And soon I was not in that basement. I was sitting at the table, because I was the one who would have the answer about, but there's an opportunity here. Sandra, do you know more about that? Yes, we can do this. So even though it was not the right career for me, which basically I chose it, to be honest with you, because there was this saying at that time that it will be the career that will best pay. Yeah, I was, earning good money, but I was not happy.
Right.
But I pivoted into what I liked, which was basically feel myself of that I was contributing to something, dealing with people, and helping to build something. So, that was my first job.
And I think from there, I think that's a really good point. I think sometimes people can land themselves into a particular role where they think, this is not for me, and they're very quick to try and get out of it as fast as they can. But they don't quite realize how important that role is. They don't realize it at the time, but they do realize in 3 or 4 years' time, when they are sitting around the boardroom and they are talking about certain matters, and they think, actually, I can now refer back to what I was doing back there. So it's really important that you stick into what you're doing, and then you naturally move into your next roles. But obviously from there, what did your career progression look like from starting from there with Nestle, and then obviously being the CEO of Nestlé Oceania? What did that career progression look like in terms of the roles and obviously the opportunity roles internationally?
So that role was not with Nestle, right? It was with a different company. But the president of Nestle Ecuador was part of this association, and they were trying to diversify their export portfolio. Mm-hmm. So this was a project that I was working on, which basically lasted 3 years. So when those almost 2 years finished, he asked me if I would like to apply for Nestle. And I said yes. So I said, but you will start this kind of trainee program, which we already have. It started many years ago, and we still do it. And in this trainee kind of opportunity, you have the chance to kind of know the company, all the different spaces. So I did finance, I did treasury, I did procurement, and just getting to know the company and how it worked. It lasted 2 years, and then I've been always very curious about how the world is and what can. So I said, hey, I would like to go to Switzerland, right? To get to know more about the company, the headquarters there. But I was very young, and I didn't know that to ask for that kind of thing. It was like a big ask. And they said, hey, you just landed, just keep your head down, keep working, and this will soon, come this way. But my husband at that time decided to go to Switzerland for his MBA. So I followed him, and then I knocked the doors in Nestle Switzerland. I had resigned to Nestle Ecuador, and I knocked the doors in Nestle Switzerland, and they opened the doors for me. They said, okay, here's this job. You can do this. And it was a very basic job, at the lowest level of the organization, let's say. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about this big company, how many markets, how many countries this company is, the brands, etc. And I fell in love with what Nestle does and the impact that a company like this size can have. Mm-hmm. So after 2 years, which was my husband's MBA in Switzerland, we went back to Ecuador, and then I knocked again the doors in Nestle Ecuador and I say, hey, do you want me back? And they say, of course, with this experience, yes. And then I started to kind of, it was at that point, all my career had been a bit more into finance, all this kind of much more, I could say, administrative kind of functions. Mm-hmm. But in Switzerland, I really liked this notion about marketing. But I didn't have a degree in marketing or business management or anything like that. So I decided to go back to school, with 2 kids, with the support of my husband, to do business in the university. And I did that for 7 years, every evening, and even my Saturdays, right? To get this new career, because I really, really like it. And many people said, how could you do that? I mean, working full time plus dedicating your evenings to study, to looking after the kids, your Saturdays, your weekends, basically, for 6 years. And I said, because I loved it. It was not something that for me was like a heavy weight. I really enjoyed it.
And some people, I think as well, they see opportunities and they think, I'd love to get into marketing. I'd love to go to different areas of the business, but I'm not skilled in that. And it's probably too late for me to go back to university and actually study that skill set, then come back to the business with that skill set and then be able to move into that role. But it's there, isn't it? If somebody really wants to do it and they're passionate about what they're doing, just because you're not, 18 or 21 or 22, doesn't mean you can't go back, get that skill while you're still studying or working, and then be able to get back into the workforce and then actually start moving into, I think a lot of people put those doors in front of them and think, oh, well, I would have loved to have done that, but I can't do that now. But you actually can.
Yeah, you do. And I think finding what really motivates you and what you'd really love to do, makes things easier. It won't look easier for somebody that looks at you because maybe they don't have the same passion that you have about that specific field. But for you, you have it, and things work out at the end of the day.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes it does take 2 or 3 years in the actual workforce to realize that, hey, I'm not enjoying this,
yeah.
I'm actually enjoying more of this. And more you're seeing obviously a lot more, older people, meaning older people in their late 20s, 30s, which are seen as old to younger people, going back to university and I guess redoing what they thought they were going to do and then moving into there, which I think is really important for a lot of students who are listening to this. If you go to university and finish a degree, that's not it. That you can actually go back and then decide to do something else, and the options and the opportunities are there for you. So from there, Sandra, I guess, globally, obviously many different roles, obviously across the globe. What are some of the biggest learnings through your career, I guess from the start to where you are today that you could pass on to students?
Yeah, I was reflecting on this question, and I think it's very, very important. I really have 3 big learnings. And I think the first one is that your career path is your own, right? And it doesn't have to be linear. And it is all about having a constant mindset of learning, of being curious about what is out there and really finding what drives you, right? And also, in my case, when I was the first time that I was proposed to go abroad and take on a job about being the advisor to North America, right? And I said, Jesus, how can I be the advisor to the North American market when I have never been, working there? I only have been on vacation. But I said, okay, let's try. right? We will figure it out. And I think that showing up to those challenges and those opportunities, it really also forces you to kind of, also prepare yourself and get curious about reading more about the American market, about speaking with people that have worked there, and being also humble that you don't have all the answers, but you want to learn. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, as I said before, you learn faster about things that you are passionate about. Mm-hmm. So finding that thing, that field that really drives you is very important. I remember once I was the line manager of a very, very smart lady who was a nutritionist, but she had she showed a lot of strong leadership traits. So I wanted to help her, develop into more in leadership roles. So I said to her, would you like to be a factory manager of this? I think you can do this, And she said yes to me, and we promote her. And after a few months, 6 months, she came to me and she said, "I'm resigning." And I said, "Why are you resigning? I mean, I just promote you." And she said, "Because I find out that what I really love to do is this field of nutrition, and I'm not enjoying this job that much, and I know that there is no way back." And I said, wow, right? Sometimes it's not about just, progressing. It's about really being happy with what you do, and understanding that is so, so important for your future.
It is. And I think, a lot of pressure on young people is, still big influences are mum and dads and what they think they should be doing. And you're sending them to a private school, and we need you to go to university. University is one route, but that's not the option. And just because you don't go to university doesn't mean that you're not smart, doesn't mean that you're not driven, but there are other alternatives, apprenticeship programs, going to TAFE or going straight into the workforce. But I think a lot of pressure, students are going into roles that realistically they're not absolutely passionate about, but they think it's the right thing to do. And I think it's really important when students are out there and you're listening to this and you're listening to people like Sandra who've been there and done that, finding your passion is extremely important. That's really what's going to set you up, not what you think's going to set you up, because normally 4 or 5 years into it, you turn around and think, this is not for me. So definitely finding your passion and running with it and being confident about it, and going down that path will certainly set you up for the future. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Daniel, it is a process, right? It is a process. The one thing that I really want everybody to understand is that don't think or don't feel that you have failed because you are doing something that you don't like. It's okay. You don't like it. I found out that I didn't like, computer science and being in this. But, find what from you will always find something useful in whatever experience you have had. Yep. Take that thing and move on in this search, right? Of what really. I am still on the search of what is my legacy as a human being, and I think I enjoy that journey.
From there, your career, and I guess, entering the workforce, when you enter the workforce to, I guess, where it is today, what are some of the key things that are differed from, obviously, when you entered to, students leaving university, perhaps maybe into the Nestle graduate program? How's that differed from your experience?
I think the one thing that really, it's huge, it's the incredible fast pace of change that we are seeing around us. From technology to the biggest threats the planet is facing nowadays, and the complexity of how to solve those threats, how to solve those problems, right? And I think that aspect nowadays needs a lot of diversity of thought. I truly believe that we need to listen each other a little bit more. We sometimes are fixed in our way of looking at things and our perspectives, and we just shut our ears to listen to a different perspective that we believe it's wrong. And I think if we listen a bit more actively, we could find some things, some commonalities where we can work together. So that's for me is the big one. The second one is that this fast pace of change as well is really having a huge impact on our ability to face challenges, because it's one challenge after the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you look at, I guess, students today, and you've got students looking at Nestle thinking, that's the type of business from the environmental impacts that you're involved in terms of diversity and inclusion in the workplace, all ticking the box. What's going to help a student from your perspective in terms of, from their own background to experience to what they do at university? Is there any key things from your perspective that would really help students stand out from the crowd? If we look at and we start bringing it back to students are listening to this, they're at school, they're about to go to university, they're going to come out with their degree, what can make them stand out amongst others to be appealing to Nestle?
The first thing, I think in terms of the education that all the kids get, or most of them get, it is in a way standard, right? Some will have a little bit more of this, some a little bit more of that. But what really is really important is what we call the soft skills, right? So things that make these new students stand out is, again, that ability to show, I am committed to this. I want to make it work. I may not have all the answers. In fact, I don't have all the answers, but I am open to learn. And I show up. And I have my plan, right? For me, if and I said always this to my people, if on Sunday evening you go to bed and you say, oh, tomorrow is Monday, so happy that tomorrow I have to work and I have to go to the office and I have to go, now that we are in a flexible environment, to have my Zoom meeting with my teammates. And I'm happy about that. You're on the right track. If you are thinking about, oh my God, tomorrow's Monday, what a bump. I mean, just look for something else, right? It's not, you are not committed. And it goes again to this question about finding your passion. The other thing that I probably would say, let's always remember, right? And you said it as well, that other people's views, opinions, demands, and expectations of you is not what is important. What is important is how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself in your own eyes, and nobody can give you anything or take away your power. The power is within you, and again, showing that is so powerful, and it's something that you can just feel it when you are in an interview with someone, right? Someone that really is there, ready to do their best.
Yeah. From there, you look at students again now, and I always try to bring things back to students at school. And obviously, they're the ones listening to this, and you've got mums and dads also who listen to this, career advisors and teachers. So where do you see, obviously with all industries and the way the world's going, of course, is technology, AI. Where do you see, I guess, the Nestle business in terms of maybe technology and especially AI? Where do you see the Nestle business, the next 5 to 10 years?
So technology is having a huge impact in how we do business. And I think the pandemic last year has also exacerbated that idea. Nowadays, we are seeing even in countries that we call emerging countries that e-commerce, for example, right? It is exploding. So people that like that field and find their passion into that field will have a huge and many opportunities to really contribute to not only to Nestle but to many businesses. We are, for example, and we know that here in Australia we don't have many data scientists, right? People that could look at all this huge amount of data that right now we have and make sense of that. More data doesn't mean more knowledge until you get that data into insights. Artificial intelligence is something that I think we are still in the very, very early stages of using that, but it will soon have a huge impact. We are using artificial intelligence, for example, in our factories to help us with everything that goes from manufacturing to quality control to logistics. And it will have a huge also impact in the future. Having said that, right, if we go even, farther than 5-10 years, because at one point there are many people that says, machines are going to be better and faster than we are in things that, imply basic kind of intellect.
Yes.
Logic, intellect. The part that machines will have a much more difficulty to replace us is in the humanistic part of knowledge. And that is why we should always remember all these technology advancements and technical careers compounded with this humanistic part. And when I say humanistic part, I am talking about understanding the human society, cultures, leadership, the positive behavioral influence that leadership can have, because that is much more difficult for a machine to do.
In regards to, I guess, just as I said, Sandra, with your experience and background, you've got students there sitting there that may know what they want to do, may not know what they want to do, maybe leaving school now or at university. What's I guess, words of wisdom that you could give them? I know we've touched on a little bit, but what's some of the words of wisdom that you can give these students in terms of, helping them with their journey moving forward?
I will tell them what I tell my kids when they get a bit, stressed out about their future. And I said, stop worrying too much. Nothing is permanent in life, right? So if you're going through a bad moment or, just ride that wave and get the learnings and get ready for the next one. You will always have the opportunity to have another wave to ride. So for me, that is one of the things that I really want to say to the young people, because I see a lot of young people under so much pressure that they shut down. Their brain basically paralyzes, and that is not healthy.
No.
That is not healthy.
No.
The second thing that I would say is always show up, right? If you sign for a new job, show up with your best self. You will always have something to contribute. There is no question that is a stupid question. In fact, the questions that we think are stupid are the most insightful questions, because we people that have been in business for many years, we take a lot of things for granted. Mm-hmm. And when somebody young that comes to ask a very basic question, many times, we say, "Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. We thought that we basically knew, but we didn't." And it really helps the conversation and helps to make even stronger decisions, better decisions. So never doubt about the contributions that you can make in any space.
Well, I think that gives us a really good understanding. I think from the students out there, I know they were really keen to hear from yourself, Sandra, and Nestle, to hear about the opportunities that awaits them if they want it, if they show up. And I think if you're students out there and you want to find out more about obviously what Sandra has to say in terms of Nestle and the different opportunities that you can have within the business and learn about those opportunities, you can always jump onto explorecareers.com.au, as you know, and obviously jump onto the Nestle profile and you'll find everything you need to know about the business and videos and interviews and everything. So jump onto there. But I really want to thank your time today, Sandra, for joining us today and giving people an insight to not only your experience from leaving school to now being CEO, but obviously a really good insight to Nestle and where Nestle is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. So we really appreciate your time today and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Bye-bye. Ciao.